Hello, if you're just joining in, it is all about muscle-ups today. Video I have there is one that I recorded a little while back, tracking my progress and the path that I took in achieving it. And then I've listed a progression that is a little more comprehensive. There are a couple more stages in there that I didn't happen to use, but they're there if you do need them. But do say hello if you'd like. It'd be great to chat. Otherwise, just hang out and enjoy the show. What's up, guys? Kaz, Elevate Your Craft, and I wanted to take this opportunity to record episode number 26 of the vlog, and I've labeled it a useful structure, which is pretty ambiguous, but it's a way to, I guess, structure your workouts in a way that I've found pretty useful in my own training, sort of one that gives you control. It really allows you to understand your progress and make adjustments when necessary. And it ultimately gives you something to fall back on, but also work toward. Important general questions to ask yourself are along the lines of what criteria you need to meet in order to feel like you're making progress. So examples are, do I need to have a certain amount of strength? Do I need to try something new or challenging every session? Do I need to sweat? Do I need to complete a certain amount of exercises or sets, movements, etc.? Understanding these types of things and how they're unique to you will help you figure out how to maximize what you get out of each workout, and then just feel really good about what you're doing, which will help build your confidence and then benefit your overall mentality and exercise overall. For me, it had to do a lot with how I felt I was making progress. So it was important for me to try something highly challenging. So strength was a big thing for me. And I needed to establish a benchmark that I could work from. And this is partly how the approach I'm going to discuss came about for me. And so the way I normally structure my workouts now is within 3 progressions. So progression 1 is something that is comfortable and can be done with a modest amount of effort. Then progression 2 is something that's uncomfortable and takes a moderate amount of effort. And then progression 3 is something that's uncomfortable, requires a high amount of effort, and relies on the first 2 progressions in order to achieve. So just to illustrate, a few examples would be in the push-up arena, it would be, say, the standard push-up, then the close push-up, then the uneven push-up. If it were pistol squats, say squats, it'd be chair pistol, press pistol, then the pistol squat. And then finally, within dips, you'd go to the straight dip, parallel bar dip, and then the perpendicular bar dip. So I've always considered the progressions similar to a spectrum. Even though we have points in which these progressions occur, there are plenty of things that we can iterate in between each step in order to cater to our own personality, our own capabilities, our own needs, and where we are within that progression. And this is really where the principles of progression came in. And it's kind of funny because I was thinking back and how I didn't come up with the concept, but how I applied it, I actually picked up on through piano lessons. So it was highly endorsed by my teacher, who at the time, she would make me learn something that was, essentially picking 3 different pieces of music. And it closely resembled what I illustrated earlier about, something that was fairly comfortable and I could play without a lot of effort. And then something that was a little more challenging, but still manageable. And then of course, something that was extremely challenging, required a lot of effort. And, I would very likely need to complete the first 2 pieces in order to play the third. So that way of thinking, that way of practicing translated right over to my calisthenics training. And that doesn't mean that I avoid other variations completely or don't change things up from time to time. It's just a method that I use to understand and ground where I am. And it gives me a really nice view of the big picture while keeping it sort of engaging and fun. Not so much these days. I think I sort of apply a structure, but it's more loose than I used to in the past. But as long as I'm somewhat within that framework, it seems to be really good for me, and I'm able to stay on track with where I want to be. And then, as you get better, as you improve, as you get stronger, it just shifts. So, going back to my first example, which is the push-ups, it would then move on to the close push-up being the first progression, the uneven being the second, and then you could go all the way to the lever push-up, or maybe even the kneeling one-arm push-up variation, something like that, where you sort of shift down the scale and you improve that way. And it was a great way to not only understand how to iterate each exercise, but it was a fantastic way to manage my training in a way that was just not only fun and engaging, like I mentioned, but was broken down into small enough pieces that I could achieve it. And, if something was a little more difficult than I liked it to be, and it was still within that uneven push-up realm, as an example, then I would just modify my uneven push-up to mitigate some of the difficulty and then work from there. So it's also useful for establishing your structure on a smaller level. So based on which progressions I had established, I would often begin the routine, with the more difficult variations. And that's, of course, after warming up, but then regress to others in the tripod, as I called it. It not only provided a great way of working within your capabilities, but it was an awesome way to maximize how much I got out of the workout. It forced me to really push myself. And then over time, as I improved, like I said, I would just, what's the next progression in the chain? Is it within the realm of completion in the next while, or is it just way out of my wheelhouse? Do I need to, I need to say to myself, I'm being a little more ambitious. Do I need to wheel it back a bit and then find a third progression that's not achievable yet, but is within the realm of achieving if I complete the first 2 progressions? So I've found that to be an extremely useful structure for my training. and I still to this day use it a lot. And it's certainly not exclusive. Like I said, I don't stick to only those things, but I can always come back to it and say, within the different arenas, push-ups, pull-ups, front levers, back levers, human flag, dip, whatever the chain may be, I kind of list out the 3 progressions of where I'm at, and then I can, either start over or shift attention over to a certain area if I want to, and then really dial down what I want to do. So hopefully that's useful. Hopefully it makes sense. I thought I'd talk about that in this episode of the blog. But that's it for that now. And anyone else joining up, hello. I was just recording the 26th episode of my blog, essentially on a useful way to structure your overall workouts that I've done.
Dear Diary, today my heart leapt when Agent Scully suggested spontaneous human combustion.
442, thank you very much for following, much appreciated. But if you're there, feel free to say hello. This stream is all about muscle ups today, and something I've put a bit of focus on in previous streams thus far. I think it's just fantastic content, and I want to share it with as many people as possible. So don't be surprised if you do see similar themes in the near future. But I do have a ton of content to work with. But anyway, if you're there, feel free to say hello in chat. It'd be awesome to get a chat going. But if you do have any questions about the muscle up, or really anything, you can ask whatever. It doesn't have to be muscle up related. I always considered muscle ups to have 3 parts. First being the pull-up, the second being the transition between the first part and third part, which is the dip. So you have the pull-ups, the dips, and then that transition between both of those core movements. So if it's something you want to achieve, if it's something that you're already doing and you are very competent at it, feel free to throw that at me. I'm certainly not trying to pretend that I am better or smarter than anyone else. It's mostly just sharing my experience and then hoping it is useful. So again, if you are so inclined, please say hello. Otherwise, just hang out and enjoy the show. The listing that I wrote down there of the techniques only focuses on the dip side. But of course, as I mentioned, there are the pull-up side as well, which I do have in the video. And then, of course, the word of the stream. I usually leave them on for at least a few days. So I don't know if it's the word of the stream or if I should maybe label it word of the week or whatever. I'll figure that out. But it is importune, which, what did it load up yesterday? Anyway, it's to ask someone pressingly and persistently to do something. Trying to remember where I picked it up from. I think it was the book God is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. It's gotta be it. Anyway, I'll start recording what book I get. Not only the word from the book, but also the actual book that I got it from, because I always find that I'm wondering, so why not? But cheers to that. Well, like I said, if you're just joining up, feel free to say hello. Theme for today is muscle ups, but of course there's a lot within progressive calisthenics, so if that's something you're into, bodyweight exercise, feel free to ask about really anything. The video I have playing there is a progression that I followed. It was my path. It's certainly not the right way, the wrong way. It was just one way. And it corresponds pretty closely to the listing that I have there. They come easier for some or much harder for others. They were pretty difficult for me to achieve, in all honesty. What brought me over the bar, literally and figuratively, was cutting 15 pounds. And that certainly makes sense. But at the time, I was doing jumping muscle ups. And, well, I took about a month off because I'd switched over to a ketogenic lifestyle. And you shouldn't work out within the first, I don't know, maybe even longer, probably 6 to 8 weeks. So I was off for a bit, but within that time, I cut 15 pounds of fat and then jumped right back into my training, and there you go, I was over the bar. So that's why at the end of the video, I have that picture, and then it says, optimize body composition. You're sort of just optimizing the conditions in which you may achieve the muscle up. And I mean, I'm confident I would have achieved it even if I was, even if I still was at, I think it was 190, between 193 and 195. I mean, I still would have achieved it, I'm pretty confident, but it just helped. So hello, welcome. If you're just joining in, feel free to say hello in chat. Be cool to say hi. Otherwise, just enjoy the calisthenics goodness. Hello, hello. If you're just joining up, welcome, welcome. Feel free to say hello in chat. This is the calisthenics talk portion of the stream, and it is about muscle ups, so feel free to ask any questions regarding them or really anything progressive calisthenics related. That's cool too. That's what I'm here for. But if you are particularly interested in the muscle up, that video is a progression that I recorded a little while back, tracing my path toward achieving the beast of a technique that it is. It was long, it was arduous, it was not easy. And it comes easier for some, it is much difficult for others, including me. But it's pretty similar to the progression that I have listed there, other than a couple of progressions that are there just in case you need them. Mostly the partner assisted stuff. And it's also the dip portion of it, because I always considered muscle up training to be 3 parts: dips, pull-ups, and then the transition between the two. It's a pulling and pushing movement. So you have that tricky area where you're pulling yourself over the bar. And that's something that I would intentionally train separately. I mean, they're all connected, it's not truly separate. However, in my approach, I usually train that transition, which is why I included a progression like the horizontal bar dip with the slow negatives, and also high pull-ups. Those are really, really good for training the strength, the tendon strength in particular required for that transition. There it is there. But otherwise, feel free to say hello in chat. It'd be great to get to know everyone. But if you just want to hang out, that's cool too. Took the time to record my 26th episode of the Elevate Your Craft blog, which was on, the name of it, A Useful Structure, is pretty vague, but it's one that I derived actually from piano lessons back when I was, when I was playing piano and being formally trained. One of the ways that my teacher at the time instructed me was to always have 3 pieces that I was working on. One being the easiest, the second being moderately difficult, required a moderate amount of effort, and then have one that was, a little ambitious, one that would be very challenging, but one that if I were to be able to play the first 2 progressions competently, I would be able to achieve. So I transition that over to my calisthenics training, where I took the progressions within a chain and I structured them that way, where I would have one that was comfortable, for example, the push-up, and then the second one that required a moderate amount of effort and was a little bit uncomfortable to do, the close push-up, for example, and then the third, which was pretty uncomfortable, required a high amount of effort, and relied on the first 2 progressions to achieve. So that's what I recorded that about a little bit ago. During the calisthenics portion of the stream, got the word of the day above my head. Well, no, I don't even want to call it the word of the day, because technically yesterday would have been the word of the day, maybe word of the week, or I'm not quite sure. Whenever I change it, I change it. But also the quote of the stream, which is our good friend Albus Dumbledore, being the wise man that he is, or was, or however you want to think of it. Feel free to say hello if you're just joining in. It would be cool to chat, get to know you. Elevate Your Craft is something I've been working on now for almost 4 years. Focused mostly on, primarily on calisthenics and jump rope. That is also something that I do a lot and write a lot of material and create a lot of content on. So if you haven't joined up for any of the jump rope themed streams, be sure to do that in the future. but the name was actually derived from a couple places, mostly from Jiro Ono's movie. Well, it's one of his quotes, but I saw it in the movie called Jiro Dreams of Sushi. And the last part of the quote is, "And always strive to elevate your craft." And then it was pretty, I would say, confirmed by a big Rush fan, their song Animate. And of course, in the chorus, there's the elevate me part. And then I'm like, okay, you know, that somehow confirms it. So I went, all right, I'm going to go with that name. And then also, I just think that physical exercise and awareness and well-being, mental and physical, will better anything that you do. Even if your career or your focus is not physically demanding per se, I think that if you do strive for physical wellness, it will improve anything that you do. So I thought it was kind of a cool name to get that message across as well. Hello, hello. If you're just joining out, feel free to say what's going on in chat. It is Muscle Up Day, but feel free to ask really anything when it comes to progressive calisthenics. But what you see on your screen is specifically tailored toward muscle ups for this stream. So if it's something you're interested in, want to learn more about, do feel free to say hello and ask whatever questions you may have, and I will do my best to answer them. Hello, if you're just joining up, feel free to say hello in chat. It is Muscle Up Day, and I've got some content there showcasing the progression that I used in order to achieve it. So if it's something you can already do and are looking to maybe not learn some insight, but provide it, that's cool too. But if it's maybe something you'd like to do, you're interested in achieving one day, that's what I am here for, in order to share my experience. So I will do the best that I can. But even before that, hello, welcome. Hello, welcome if you're just joining in. Feel free to say hello in chat. It is Muscle Up Day, so if it's something you're looking to achieve, you feel free to ask any questions or anything really within progressive calisthenics. It doesn't have to be muscle ups, but that's the theme for this portion of the stream. Hello, if you're just joining up, do say hello in chat. It's Muscle Up Day, so feel free to ask any questions if it's something you're looking to achieve, or also provide any insight around if you can already do it pretty well. That is cool too. The progressions in the video and the list do coincide pretty well. There's a couple extra ones in the written list that are there for you to use if you do happen to need them. I didn't include them in the video, it's just because I didn't actually use them in my own quest to conquer the muscle up, so that's why. But as mentioned, that's what they're there for. You know, workarounds. You may need some progressions over others. It really, you know, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way. Hey, NC Zern, how are you? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you might be trying to bite off a little more than you could chew. Just take it easy though, you know, start slow. And then if you do, I mean, one of the things I was talking about previously when we were discussing rope was going by repetitions. So maybe, I don't know if you are or not, but if you're using time right now, it might even be better to just start off with a low amount of repetitions and then also stretch a lot. Yeah, you'll be sore. If you're sore, you likely went overboard. So just slow it down. Don't try and do too much. You've got to get the muscles, the tendons, your body sort of back in rope training mode. But it'll get there. That's good though. I mean, that's a mistake a lot of people make, is they'll be very excited to get back into things and, you know, whatever they're doing, but then go way too hard early on, and then they're sore for a week or two, and it just throws a wrench into everything. One of the things I've been trying as of late is, it was, geez, I forget his name. He's actually George St. Pierre's head trainer. But he was, in an interview, he was talking about the way to actually train is by training every day, but you don't go hard. You do maximum 70% of your overall effort. And if you're sore the next day, then you've gone a little bit too hard. Because it's more of a long-term way of thinking and a long-term approach. Because if you think about it, if you go, you train, and you absolutely destroy yourself, you're sore for a few days at least, you can't train, or you shouldn't train. But if you do, it's more about the volume. So if you go less intensely every day, by the end of the year, the amount of volume that you'll have is just staggeringly higher. Well, first you got to figure out what you want. Do you know what you want? Like, what's your goal? I mean, at that point, when you're just starting out again, it's extremely... Oh, yeah. Your ambition, right? But you have experience, which is good. But at that point, clarity is extremely important. I mean, clarity is always important, but when you're not in that zone and you want to get back into it, it's extremely important to have a plan, understand what you want, outline what you can do, and be super aware when you're training too, because you might need to make subtle adjustments in how you train. And pay close attention. This is a lot to ask, I suppose, but pay attention to your technique. You know, see if it's sloppy. If you're doing too much, just trust your instincts and slow it down. One thing I learned over time, I've been a progressive calisthenics now. I've been doing for about 9 years, and I used to absolutely destroy myself. The amount that I would work out was just stupid. It was just so stupid. And I look back, I mean, I don't necessarily regret it, but a lot of it was unnecessary. So now I'm just smarter about it. But the good thing is, I mean, if you want to get back to where you were, at least you know that you are able to do it. You've been there before. Yeah, you dial in your diet, and well, another important question to ask yourself is, does what you did before align with first what you want, but then like your current life circumstances? Because no matter what you do, you're going to have to make sacrifices. If you want to put more time into exercise, something else has to go. So, but if you're willing to put that in, that's awesome. You know, but where you were 2-3 years ago just might not be viable for your life circumstances now. And there's nothing wrong with that. You'll just have to adjust, that's all. That's the great thing about calisthenics too, is you have a huge variety of variations, so you can make the exercises as easy or as difficult as you want. And a lot of it you can do at home, or you know, at a park, or you don't really need much to achieve it. And you can most definitely build muscle mass using calisthenics as well. Hello, anyone just joining in, feel free to say hello in chat. You know what then? I mean, consistency is the key there. Just do it. Just go and exercise. And then the diet for me, like what really clinched things for me was just going to a very low carbohydrate, high fat, moderate protein diet. Like that's what really got me to where I wanted to be body composition wise. And it might not be the case for you, but that's pretty important to explore, because no matter what I did, aside from my aforementioned very low carbohydrate, high fat diet, I couldn't cut. I got to about like 13% body fat, which is still great. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful. But the way I am now, which is I keep the same body composition year round, which is pretty much what's in the background photo. That's what helped me, just figuring out how to iterate my diet to cut. And then consistency, just work out on a consistent basis. Even if you don't get a great workout in, even if it feels like garbage, just go and do it. Sometimes you'll have poor workouts. Sometimes you'll have awesome ones. That's just the way it is. But from what it sounds like, for what you want, it's just consistency, man. Just get out there and do it. Yeah, exactly. Vegetables, a little bit of fruit, and then no bread, no starches, no grains, anything like that. But I don't go high protein. No matter what, I'll do max like 120, but I usually keep it around 100 grams. I personally think or many people eat way too much protein, but you know, that's a whole debate there, so whatever. But I mean, shifting back to that, I'm sure will work wonders to what you're looking for. But do you prefer like body weight training, or do you kind of mix it up with weights and body weight? Or... Now, not so much, but I actually was vegan. For strict vegan for, it was between 6 and 7 months. And then before I actually started the ketogenic lifestyle, I was vegan. So definitely. But I put on, like I said, I couldn't cut to the degree that I wanted to. And I also had some concerning just blood work and that kind of stuff when I lived a vegan lifestyle. And it was a pretty clean vegan lifestyle too. Like it wasn't, well, you know, like vegetarians or vegans that just eat sugar and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty clean, but it just didn't seem to be the best way to live for me personally. But yeah, definitely now, not really. But for a while I did. But I've tried a lot of different things, just standard American, paleo. I was vegetarian for a year, and then of course vegan. Like I said, for strict for about 6 to 7 months, and then for another 6 months, I only reintroduced fish, but still ate primarily vegan meals. And then I found I was gaining weight and all that kind of stuff, and did a little more exploring, and then kind of went the other way and ended up on my current lifestyle now, which I've been doing for about 2.5 years. Yeah, me too. I mean, it's great. And once you actually learn the principles of progression with calisthenics, I mean, before I started learning it, I really only knew of certain exercises, right? Just your standard pull-ups, push-ups, close push-ups, bodyweight squats, but that's about it. But then once you learn about all the different progressions and how to manipulate leverage, you know, weight to limb ratio, technical tightening, speed, like all of these things that you can manipulate to make exercises more difficult or easier, it just blew the doors wide open for me, and then I became pretty much obsessed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, if it works for you, that's great. I mean, I don't promote. I don't really talk about diet that much. I don't debate it that much. It can become pretty ideological for people. and seems to almost be replacing religion for a lot of people these days. So I don't talk about it much. I mean, unless I'm asked certain things, but as far as promoting or talking about specific ways of eating, I don't really get into it too much, because it can just open up a can of worms that in the past hasn't been worth dealing with. But you know, hey, if you find it works, like we're all pretty different biologically in a lot of ways, and what works for one person might not work for another. But if it works, if you feel good, that's awesome. But it takes a ton of exploration. At least it was for me. I mean, I did a lot of different ways of eating. Yeah, I'm pretty similar. I know I certainly explored that area. Especially when you enter the vegan world, there's a lot of that you can get wrapped up into, I suppose. But it wasn't ideological for me. It was mostly just, hey, is this the best way for me to live, to sustain my health and my life in an optimal way? And so that's why I wanted to explore it, and I did, and you know, here we are. But you're at an exciting time. You're at a very exciting time. Starting things back up. Got a lot to look forward to. You're going to shape your body the way you want. It's a very exciting place to be. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, now a lot of why I maintain the high fat, moderate protein, very low carbohydrate way of eating is because of the mental clarity, the lack of brain fog, the ability to maintain focus and engage for very long periods of time is easier. I mean, I'm out now, but I usually have a water bottle with exogenous ketones and water and ice that I would drink while streaming, just to keep my focus up and all that kind of fun stuff. It really kind of moves away from weight loss, which is what brings a lot of people in. But if you maintain it for a long time, that becomes secondary or even tertiary fairly quickly once you realize the other benefits that you get from it. Hello, if you're just joining up, feel free to say what's up in chat and join in the conversation. It is Muscle Up Day, but we're just talking about whatever. It doesn't certainly have to focus on muscle ups, but that's just the theme for this particular stream. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I think, like, I don't crave any of that anymore. For a long time, I haven't. I mostly crave fat and salt. Those are the things that once I'm satiated, like there are times if I'm hungry where, you know, and I'm at the grocery store or something, and I'll see a bag of chips. Or I used to absolutely crush chips like nobody's business. I was never too into sweets and that kind of thing. Chips were always the bane of my existence. But once I, get a good meal in that just has enough fat to get me satiated, enough protein to maintain, then the cravings go away. But they're very addictive, man, especially sugar. And grains, especially white flour, all those kinds of, that's essentially sugar. So it's just as, if not more, addictive than, you know, sucrose or glucose and fructose, however you want to, whatever you want to call it. In fact, this right here, this bottle, is my electrolyte mix. It's salt and potassium. A teaspoon of salt and then half a teaspoon of potassium. Just put it in a big bottle of water and drink it. That keeps me good for the day as far as electrolyte balance. So what were you doing with rope when you were training? More like just bounce step, alternate step, kind of just trying to get you back used to jump rope overall? Yeah, the other day, I think it was Friday, I had this clip up. I don't know that you were there, but I was discussing not really enough room, I suppose. But it's a certain combo that I just had up for fun. I was talking a bit about mechanics and that kind of thing. I mean, depending on what you want, that might be all you need. Like, I love tricks, so I've explored a lot of different movements and trying to figure out new tricks and that kind of thing, but I'm certainly not the best at them. There's a ton of people out there that can do some pretty amazing tricks, and that's amazing. Like, there's generally almost always someone better. But that's one of my favorite combos to do. Double under, and then what do we got here? Double under to side swing, and then backward rotation crossover to another 180 rotation, and then arm wrap to double under crossover. I'll talk about them more on probably in another stream, but arm wraps, when I learned about arm wraps, that was a crazy moment, because that opened up so many new ways of moving with jump rope. Like, it was crazy. Once you're able to achieve arm wraps, then the amount of things you're able to do, movements, rotations, transitions to different tricks, from one trick to another, they're so amazing. It's a transitional technique. It's crazy. And you can see them kind of in action, there's the last couple of things I do in that combo. You're essentially allowing the rope to wrap around your arm so you can change directions. And then the long-handled ropes come in great handy here. Yeah, I think the only thing you got to be careful with there is it'll probably degrade the leather, and then also it'll likely make the rope longer. So, as far as the dimensional stability is concerned, it might make it a little bit longer and then affect your technique. And it also depends on how you store and coil your rope. So that's actually really important. Like you see a lot of people where they'll tie the rope around the handles or, tie them in knots, all that kind of thing. Do not do that. Just sort of coil it up loosely like you would a garden hose and then store it in a cool, dry place. Or you could even, if you have a hook in your room or your garage or wherever it is, just hang it off of the hook. Kind of at the middle of the rope where the handles hang even. Just hang it that way. But personally, I've found that like the licorice poly ropes, those have been the best for me. I do have a steel cable rope as well. I don't use it a lot just because they're much less flexible. There's less give in the rope. Obviously, it's a steel cable, and if you're trying to do arm wraps and crossovers and transitions and rotations and all that kind of stuff, those ropes aren't the best for that. So yeah, for that, I mean, if you're able to, if you like that particular rope, I'd just be careful about hanging it wet, because it just, or I mean, even if it does make it a little bit longer, just keep it in mind, see how it affects the rope. But yeah, I mean, leather, you're just, yeah, and it might. But really just depends on what you want. Leather, you're not going to get as much speed and flexibility, but for what you're doing at the moment, if it's just regular bounce step, double unders, backward rotation, bounce step, things like that, it should work fine. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with it. If you're looking to invest into a new one at some point, that's when you start thinking about what you want out of the rope, like the type of training you're going to do, that kind of thing. And then just get one that's tailored to what you want to do, and will give you a bit of longevity. If it's on your right foot, if you have are you in front of a mirror, or do you have access to a mirror? One thing I'd look out for is your hand positioning. If your left or right arms lower or higher, you want to make sure that they're even, because if one's higher, it'll affect the arc of the rope. And then also I'd take a look at, or try and really be aware at how your wrists are rotating. If one is rotating, or if maybe your dominant arm is rotating that side faster or more powerfully than the other, it'll kind of pull the rope ahead of the other side just a little bit more. and it'll affect the arc of the rope. But if you can, really watch yourself in front of a mirror and look at your technique. It's probably technique, or you could even just watch your positioning. Oh, okay. Yeah, if you do have access to a wider mirror, take a look at all those things, but also watch your feet as well. I mean, usually the feet don't move that much. So at least in my experience, it's never been my feet that caused that issue. But I ran into something similar on my left foot where I was consistently catching on my left foot. And for me, it was, I was jumping with my wrists or hands and they were uneven. So it was causing a skew in the arc of the rope. And then once I adjusted that, it was pretty good. But another thing to pay attention to is, it's likely, if that's the case, that it's a habit, and you kind of, even if you're even, over time you might be falling back into the pattern of doing that, of dropping one arm lower than the other, or, you know, and especially as you get tired, it's easier to fall back into bad habits. So keep an eye on that, your hand positioning. You want to keep them even horizontally, and then also notice how your wrists are rotating. And just try and keep them as even as possible. Like that one move in that video that I have playing there, that last trick there, the double under crossover. One really good test is, like, it's one thing to perform a trick once, but if you want to perform it multiple times consecutively, that will really test your technique. So if you want to do a crossover, but then maintain the arm position and do multiple crossovers, that's a lot harder. And that's when I noticed, not only do you have less space for the rope to clear your body, but you're essentially changing the direction in which your wrists are rotating. And for me, that was a big challenge because I found that my left wrist was not rotating quite as well as my right. So it was causing a lot of problems in the way I did it. So how your wrists are rotating it's very subtle, but it's important. So I check those two things out and see if it helps. Because usually kinks in ropes are worked out just by the momentum of the rope and it's swinging. Usually it'll kind of work out kinks, but it could be that your rope is just so old and worn and kinked that you can't really fix it. So it could be that at some point soon you'll need a new rope. But I feel like leather, you should be able to work that out. Really, with old leather, I would think you just need to worry more that it'll break. Like if it's just so old and worn out. But anyway, that was that clip. I got a whole bunch of those showcasing different movements and stuff. And those are actually all on my Facebook page, the Elevate Your Craft, all one word. YouTube, it's hard. I mean, it's not hard, but I don't know that it's that conducive to short clips. So I usually put short clips of tricks and stuff like that on the Facebook page. So if you're interested in checking those out, that's probably the best place to do it. Hello, hello, if you're just joining up. The discussion so far in chat has been based around jump rope, but the theme of the day is muscle ups. So feel free to say hello, join in on the conversation. I mean, ask me whatever relating to jump rope or progressive calisthenics. Certainly doesn't have to be muscle up related, but if you're into those and want to learn a bit about them, feel free to ask away. Or just hang out, enjoy the show, that's cool too. Yeah. Yeah, don't push it too hard. You don't want to make it worse. I learned the hard way. Fortunately, I never had ankle issues, but I did have heel issues and calf, just crazy calf tightness and soreness from jumping so much, and I didn't respect it. So there were periods that I had to slow down. Like right now, I'm just coming off of like a 2-month hiatus from jumping rope because I just needed to stop. So a couple days ago was my first, actually no, yesterday. No, it wasn't yesterday, sorry. Two days ago was my first rope workout in a while. So slowly getting back into it, fast and furious. Makes no sense. Slowly getting back into it so I can once again become fast and furious. I find I had to buy ropes online and ended up on Buddy Lee ropes, which aren't cheap. They're fairly pricey, but I didn't really have like department stores around and that kind of thing that had decent ropes. Well, I shouldn't say that didn't have decent ropes. They're good ropes. It just depends on what you want to do. So for my purposes, I wanted to make sure I was getting at least a 10-foot. And most of the ones, if not all the ones I saw, were 9-foot. And back when I was buying them at department stores, CrossFit was all the rage. So they had a lot of the steel cable ropes, which I did use, but learned again the hard way that probably not the best one for me. So if you're able to find one, go for one that's adjustable, that you can really tailor to your height. And then as a bonus, you know, ones with the ball bearings, like the really good bearings on the axle. They're nice. They're very smooth. Light handles. And if you think you'd like to get into tricks and crossbody tricks and all that, getting a long-handled rope is a good idea. Especially if you don't have a lot of like crossbody range of motion in your shoulders and that kind of thing. It helps, which I didn't. I'm much better now, but which is pretty reasonable. Hey man, 1 to 2 minutes of straight jumping is not easy. It's really hard. It's such a simple movement, yet so challenging, which is what I love about it. Very minimal in its aesthetic and yet highly functional, and it's awesome. That's what really draws me to jump rope and progressive calisthenics as well. It's extremely high utility. Functional strength is something I've always been more attracted to. Yeah, do what you gotta do. I appreciate you chiming in, saying hello. Thanks for hanging out. And I'm glad to hear that you're getting back into things. Take it easy. And for the rest, I shall return in a moment. All right. Hello. What's going on? Cats? Yeah, sorry, I just had to step away for a second. Good to see you again. How's the muscle up progression going? And for anyone else joining up, it is Muscle Up Day, although certainly not exclusive. That's just the theme for today. Feel free to ask anything regarding, progressive calisthenics, jump rope, whatever. But if you are into the muscle up, into pull-ups, into dips, which essentially make up the muscle up, yeah, feel free to chime in. Feel free to say hello. Oh, cool, man. I'm sure that feels great. Got to rest up, let the body heal. Let it reap the rewards. So are you happy with everything? Were you happy with the 9 weeks, the plan? Did you achieve what you wanted to achieve? Did you kind of get the results that you were looking for? Or I'm sure this week has also been time for reflection on what you did and what you liked, what you disliked, what you... Ouch. Yeah. Those injuries, man. Feels so bad. I've been pretty fortunate in that I haven't been subject to too bad of injuries. I mean, I did have chronic pain in my shoulders, but it turned out actually to be my bicep. Just tightness, my posture was too forward, and it was causing my shoulder to kind of like tilt forward and pinch my bicep. So it didn't have anything to do with my shoulder, but it was chronic. I had it for years, and it was super, super frustrating. But I was able to go to physio for a while, and Nick, shout out to Nick, you're the man. He helped me figure out the issue, and I've been free of it now. Ah, that sucks. Can't even lift your arm to shoulder height. Sounds awesome. Glad to hear it. I guess just don't make the same mistake as last time. That's the thing, right? It's like once bitten, twice shy. Now you're kind of like, maybe a little more hesitant to do what you did before, which kind of makes sense. Obviously, you don't want to injure yourself again. But yeah, it's harsh. It was so nice to work out that the issues with my shoulders. Like, I can't even tell you. Like, the first day of when I kind of like woke up and it wasn't there, it was almost emotional, man, because it's something that was with me for so long. Oh, okay. So what do you think it was? Like, maybe your stabilizers weren't up to snuff? Like, what do you think it was? Sweet potato fries with the raid. Oh, man. That's harsh. So I wonder, an interesting question would be, like, if you did end up using the barbell, would have something have happened? Or maybe you're doing, like you're maybe doing too much weight specifically for the dumbbell presses. It could have been, yeah, you just weren't used to it. What's up, anyone just joining in the stream? Hello, welcome. It's Muscle Up Day. I have a video there that I made a while back, the progression that I use to achieve it, and then the corresponding list is pretty similar. There's a few progressions in there that I didn't end up using, but they are definitely there for the taking. And this focuses on the dip side of things. There's obviously the pull-up side of it as well, but I've just included the dip progression. But I in my own mind, I always considered the muscle up kind of the pull-up in three parts: the pull-up, the transition, and then the dip side of things. So that's how I trained it. But feel free to say hello. It'd be great to say hi and get to know you. But if you feel like just hanging out, that's cool too. Increasing weight, yeah, no, I hear you. Just not, just too much of a change at once, and then you suffer the consequences of it. Because it involves so much more too, right? The core, your balance, stabilizers. Yeah. Well, lesson learned, right? I see, that's pretty much all I've been doing. Just dumbbell shoulder press. With the cold weather, I've been back into weightlifting. And all I've been doing is dumbbell shoulder press. But I'm pretty conservative as far as the weight goes, because it literally for 9 years I've been doing progressive calisthenics almost exclusively. So got back into the weight room, and I'm pretty conservative, or I have been, because I don't want to risk injuring myself, or doing something that I just maybe can't do, and then I tweak a muscle there or whatever. I've gotten a little more conservative, just to build the confidence back up, get used to training. Well, a good thing to ask yourself is where you're at with pull-ups and dips. Like, I think we were talking about horizontal bar dips last time, right? If I remember correctly, anyway. Yeah. I mean, I'd start out with some simple, like I think we talked about this as well, but you put a lot of stress on your shoulders. So even I'd probably be more worried about the hanging side of things. So I'd try out just, like we spoke about last time, I think like dead hangs, and then explosive pull-ups too. Some high pull-ups, and then just make sure your shoulders up to it, because it'll test your range of motion as well. And it's more it's more of a scouting mission, if you will, just to kind of see how your shoulders react. Because for me, one of the things that aggravated my shoulder problems was I was doing so much work in a hanging format. So there's of course pull-ups, and then I was doing all the dead hangs, and then I was working toward the muscle up, but then I was also doing hanging leg raise variations. And that position of hanging, if you don't have the right or a good range of motion in your upper body, your posture's not great, then that's where I was running into issues, especially if you're coming off of a shoulder injury. So, just to test the waters, I'd see how you hold up in hangs, in explosive pull-ups. And then if dips are fine, yeah, you can work on the dip side of things too. But again, the way I treated muscle up progression was 3 different parts, right? It was the pull-up, the dip, and then the transition. But yeah, horizontal dips, awesome. Really, really good place to, depending on your capabilities, I don't know if you start there or not, but it shifts a lot of emphasis to your chest. So think of it kind of as like I think like Truncheon said last time, like a decline bench. Decline bench press, but now you have a lot more stress on your core, your stabilizers, all that kind of thing. So it doesn't, like, by looking at it, it doesn't seem that difficult, the horizontal bar dip, but it is. For sure, that's awesome. And then keep in mind too, if you need to regress, if you have perpendicular bars somewhere, like even at home in your kitchen, if you have a countertop that has the perpendicular section to it, the perpendicular dip will make things slightly easier. So you can work from that. And then from the pull-up side of things, yeah, it's just called neutral grip. So neutrals are really good in between, and that's a great idea. That's what I would recommend too. Like if you're going from chin ups and you want to work toward like overhand grip, palms outward, then you just do neutral. And that's a great in between. And then from there you can go into like overhand grip. Yeah, no, for sure, man. Don't push yourself too hard in that regard. The last thing you want to aggravate is a shoulder injury. And another, even if you don't do pull-ups right away, just try dead hangs. Like get yourself into pull-up position, really like bring the scapula back, hang, engage the core, and then hang that way, as if you were about to start the proper pull-up, and see how you fare. Yeah, and I mean, you could sort of release everything and do the stretch as well. But I mean, I would think that might even be, that'll put extra stress on your shoulders, so be careful with that too. But another good way, I mean, if you want to shift the dynamic a bit, like for beginners and people that can't even do a pull-up, one way to start on the path is to do, they're called Australian pull-ups or inverted rows, where you essentially go under a bar. Like a Smith machine's a really good way to do it. Or if you have like parallettes, kind of like the ones behind me, you go under the bar and then pull yourself up. So it's a rowing motion, so it's not meant to simulate exactly a pull-up, but it's a good way to just put a little bit of emphasis on the mid-back, the upper back, and it's a bit easier because your weight-to-limb ratio is more favorable. You have more weight going through your legs. And they're a great warm-up too. So if you're a bit worried, you can even do that. Just to get the blood flowing and that kind of thing. Yeah, whenever I was at a gym and I wanted to do them, I would do I'd go to the Smith machine and just lock it up at a certain height and use it there. And you can do all of the different grips that you would do for a normal pull-up. Like close grip, wide grip. You could do overhand, underhand. Can't really do neutral, I guess, unless you had like some sort of special bar. And you can do one arm. Like those are very difficult to do. You can do archer pulls on an inverted row. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, entry level stuff, I usually I'd go with push-ups, pull-ups, and bodyweight squats. Core, you can do, I can load it up here. I don't know if you've seen my midsection holds video. Give me a sec, I'll throw it up. But this here is another progression video I did for midsection holds. And the first, say, like 3 are pretty entry-level core exercises. Sorry about that. I muted the video. So anyway, what I was saying is that's the first 3 variations in that one are a really good place to start for core work. And for me, like, I made the mistake early on when I was weight training. I neglected my core. And then when I kind of discovered progressive calisthenics, it was midsection holds and hanging leg raises that really just fired up my passion for core training. Well, I mean, you can mitigate that, right? So if you can't quite do that variation, then bend your legs. You know, you don't have to bend as far forward. I mean, you could literally do it where you're kind of on your butt and then you just have a very slight bend, you know? So there are ways to mitigate it. I kind of just did more of a slightly advanced version of it, but there you would just manipulate your leg, the leverage by bending at the knees. And then that'll make it easier. And then the raised tuck hold and the bent leg hold, those will keep you going for a little while. But those would be kind of like your entry-level progressive calisthenics core workouts. And then you've also got like the hanging leg raise stuff, like leg raises. You can do them without actually hanging. But when I started doing that stuff, that really got me into core work. So anyway, the first couple there is what I would recommend. And when it comes to midsection holds, the key things that make it more difficult or easier are shifting the hips forward. When you shift the hips forward, you're essentially putting a lot more work into your core and to your triceps. So if you notice, there's the jackknife hold, but then after the jackknife hold, all those variations go from the hips being under the torso to forward. And then that's one thing that makes the exercise a lot more difficult, but then also the legs act as the lever. So that's the leverage that you're manipulating. So when your knees are bent, the lever is shorter and the leverage is more favorable, so it's a little bit easier to do. But as you extend the legs, obviously the lever is less favorable and it's making it more difficult to do. So L holds, that last one, those are really tough because not only are your legs straight, but your hips are forward and your core is heavily engaged, and then also there's a lot of emphasis on your triceps too. So I mean your upper body, but you really feel it in your triceps when you're new to it. So leg lifts, you kind of mean when you're lying down and then you essentially just lift your legs up, kind of like in the jackknife there, with the legs up and down. Because like these are isometric holds, but when you introduce the sort of the concentric, eccentric movements, I mean, obviously you can train your core that way as well. Yes, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, where you put your forearms on the pads and then hold the handles. Yeah, so that's another way. That would be entry level, because what you're doing is you're eliminating all the variables other than the leg raise portion. So you can go on the dip station and then do leg lifts with your knees bent. That would be an entry level way to do it. As you get stronger, you could slowly straighten your legs. That'll make it more difficult. And then once you have straight legs and you become pretty confident with that, then you can go to a parallel bar. So then you can get into a dip position, kind of like there in the raised L hold. You can get into a dip position, and that will introduce new variables that will make the exercise more difficult, because now you have to essentially sustain yourself in a dip while engaging the core. And then from there, once you get confident there, that's when you start getting into hanging leg raise variations. So the parallel bar variations, they're easier than hanging variations, because with dips, your torso is in between your arms. You can engage the larger muscles of the upper body. You can hold yourself up a little easier. But then when you get to hanging leg raise variations, which I can show you that video as well, and I will mute the sound. So this would be a video progression for a hanging leg raise core program. And all of these things, I mean, not all, but a lot of them you can do while lying down. So if someone wanted to work their way toward hanging leg raise variations, we'd first do all of these, or most of them, lying down. Then once you get confident with them lying down, and then you kind of have that foundation of dead hangs, of pull-ups, that kind of thing, then you can attempt doing those core variations while hanging. But using a dip station, like starting off there, that's a great way to do it, because it'll stabilize your entire upper body, and then you can work on the leg raise portion of it. And then once you get better at that, then you go to the parallel bar and then repeat. And then you can work your way up to the hanging leg raise variations. And it's all quite the process. I mean, it does take time. But like all of that kind of thing, especially the hanging leg raise variations, they do a ton of work for everything else that you do. Like they'll make you better at everything. It's amazing for your upper body, for your stabilizers, the muscles around the rib cage, like everything. Oh yeah, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. So hopefully that helps and it makes sense. But with core, those, like I mentioned before, and this is the important thing, it usually revolves around leverage and hip placement. So if something feels a bit too hard, you'll be able to generally modify the one or both of those things in order to make it more difficult or easier. Oh, no problem, man. That's what I'm here for. Happy to help. Anyone else just joining in? The theme of the stream is muscle ups, but we've had a lot of discussion so far on jump rope, on core work, all that kind of stuff. I am listening to, it's just the Twitch music library. It'd be awesome to be able to listen to my own music, but due to copyright issues and all that fun stuff, you can't. So it's a Twitch music library. It's stuff that's sort of like free use that you can use on stream, and you won't be like muted or anything like that for copyright infringement. VGM, what's that? Is that like video game or? I'm not quite familiar with the acronym. There's actually some pretty decent music on the Twitch music library too. Oh, okay, yeah, video game music, yeah. Yeah, the first part of it is, it's very heavily video game music inspired. Yeah, I guess it can be finicky. I mean, there have been streams where I use the Twitch music library and it still gets muted, so I don't know. Oh, sad days, man. That's cool. So you play piano? I actually just I had an acoustic upright, but my niece and nephew are beginning piano, so I gave it to them. But I played piano for a few years, and then guitar for like 14 years. Oh, I see, yeah, because I guess you can't even play covers. Can't play covers without it getting taken down. Sad days. Oh, that's awesome. So have you been consistently playing? So you're probably pretty good. Yeah, I guess you're into it, and then you get out of it for a while. You get into it. That's so cool. It's always so sad to see, at least for me anyway, people that started. I mean, they had what I would consider the fortune of starting young and developing a really amazing talent in an instrument, and then they abandon it. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know what they went through. Like maybe they played for a while, but they were forced to do it, and then they can finally make their own decision to stop playing. So, I mean, for me, I started playing guitar at 15? No, 17. And I wish I did it the other way, kind of, where I started with piano and then maybe picked up a guitar, but yeah, exactly. With youth, we get ambition and vigor and the appeal of the life ahead of us, but as we age, I mean, I'm 32 now, very different from my 17-year-old self. But I guess the trade-off is that wisdom that hopefully you can impart on others as a force for good. Yeah, it's true. I was playing. I'll just play random games and stuff on stream, and now like Call of Duty. So I have these old man reactions. I don't have the late teen reactions in video games anymore. Like by the time I react, I'm already dead. Hello, anyone else joining up in the stream? It is muscle ups today, but we've been talking about pretty much everything other than muscle ups, which is totally cool. That just happens to be the theme for today. But feel free to say hello in chat if you are so inclined. Join in the conversation. Otherwise, if you just want to hang out, that is cool too. Oh yeah, it's true, man. The old man reactions. Like, I love watching esports and all the game, like StarCraft 2 I've been watching lately, and it's absolute insanity at how many actions per minute these players have, and their macro control, and I'm just blown away. It's crazy. But getting back to the music thing, yeah, I had to get close to abandoning my ambitions as a musician in order to pursue elevate your craft and progressive calisthenics and jump rope. And as time goes on, you have less and less time in order to pursue many different things. Oh, that's sweet. Smash Brothers, I played the original. What was it, N64? Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, another game I follow a lot is Street Fighter V, or Street Fighter in general, I guess. But you know, a lot of the top players in that game they're older players like Daigo and I think Tokido. Like they're all maybe late 20s, early 30s. I don't know exactly, but like fighting games are, I would say, almost the pinnacle of reaction times. So you're right, as long as you keep practicing. My gaming over the past 5 to 8 years has been pretty lax, so I guess I can't I can't complain. Oh, it's unreal. It's just, it's unreal. Like medium kick to hit confirm an ultimate, you're just like, okay, that's absolutely next level. Like light kick, hit confirm, yeah, that's true, I guess, right? Where you've done it so many times, you've practiced it so much that it's an instinct now. Yeah, true. No, I could see that. I mean, it would have to be instinctive or reflexive to be that quick. I've never heard it put that way. That's pretty cool. I don't have enough time to make conscious decisions. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, not only do you have the time limit on the rounds, but everything just happens so quickly. You can't, with 100% accuracy, predict your opponent's actions. So yeah, I mean, you gotta just do something and hope it's the right thing. Trust your instincts. But no, that's an awesome game. I'm a big fan of that. Played League of Legends for a while, from like 2011 until a couple years ago. Never really that competitively, like, or anything, but oh yeah, for sure. Like just the social aspect too. Like I was playing Magic Arena, like Magic the Gathering, the card game. Played that a lot over the past like 10 to 11 months, almost a year. And the viewer was really new to the game, but only played on Arena. So I was like, no, I highly recommend finding your local game stores and playing tabletop. Not only for the community, but you know, for meeting people, but also playing in that way too. It's really important to learn the game, and then you learn from other people and all that kind of stuff. what a hard game that is, man. Holy. Like, the learning curve on that game is so stressful. Yeah, oh, definitely. Just the mob mentality. The anonymity. And not anonymity, yeah, there's no fear of reprisal. You don't have to actually look anyone in the face, you know, and say it to them. It's an interesting dynamic that I don't even know that we know how to deal with psychologically, because we've never really had that before. Magic's awesome, man. Yeah, I recommend you give it a shot if it's something you're interested in doing. Like, I played Pokemon before that, and I was at a local store, and then I saw yeah, it could be. I mean, those are the big three, at least at the stores that I've played at, were Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon. And I played Pokemon. I actually played it back when it first came out. I still have all my old cards. But then there were Magic players at the store I was at. Oh, that's perfect. And I'm like, I got home, like, you know what, I'm gonna watch an online, or a game of Magic online. And then as soon as I did that, I was hooked. It was next level for sure. Ah, good old D&D. Nothing I ever did personally. But I can see that. I've seen guys playing, like when I've been at the stores, just, you know, doing a modern league or something for Magic, and there's guys playing D&D. But it's a fun game, and I do like that they do have Magic Arena now, because they obviously have Magic the Gathering online, but it's pretty archaic in its aesthetic and mechanics and that kind of thing.
Dear Diary, today my heart leapt when Agent Scully suggested spontaneous human combustion.
Very much follow, much appreciated. So coming from Pokemon, that had a really nice online game, it was somewhat discouraging to come into Magic and then find MTGO being so old looking and all that kind of thing. But the advantage of it is it has all the cards. So it has every format and all that kind of thing. So whereas Arena is only the standard format. But the aesthetic's nice and, you know, whatever. I'm by no means any stretch a pro or even that good, so my say really doesn't matter that much. It's a lot of fun, man. It's very complex, which I like about it. Skill intensive. So it had and I mean the lore, the artwork is awesome. There's a lot of really cool aspects to it. And there's just something about cards too that are cool, I don't know. That's why a lot of Magic players become poker players or you know, vice versa. There's just something about card theory that I think people like. Odds, calculating odds, statistics, all that kind of fun stuff, which I find fascinating. Hello, anyone just joining up in stream, feel free to say hello if you are so inclined. Theme of the stream today is muscle ups, but certainly doesn't have to stay there. We've had discussion on jump rope, on core work, a lot of different stuff. So feel free to ask any questions or offer any insight. But even before that, welcome, hello, and do say hello if you'd like. Otherwise, just hang out and enjoy. Oh, nice. That's really cool, man. To be able to calculate and do the maths on the fly is really fascinating. I wonder what the training was the training really intensive? Is the dealing just very, bland? Or was it the people that you had to deal with as the dealer?
Music and unlimited skips, all at an unbelievable price. For a short time, it's only 99 cents to join Premium for 3 months.
I imagine the training would have to be.
Your favorite songs or playlists, there'll be no more ads to get in your way. Plus, you can skip as much as you like and hop.
Because it's difficult and you have to do it very quickly.
Get 3 months of Premium for 99 cents.
Yeah, I would imagine it could be difficult to deal with the players. Yeah, it's tough to deal with rough people, man. Especially if you get, if you're working late shifts or overnight, and you've got the grinders who sit there for 12 hours. And who knows, alcohol gets involved. It can be a slippery slope, I'm sure. I've never played blackjack at a casino. Well, roulette I've played, and if I do, I go very sparingly to a casino, but if I do go, I play roulette. Because it's a lot of fun. There's a really cool energy around a roulette table, and, when you see people win, everyone's happy, everyone celebrates, and, it seems like like any time I've experienced it, it's been a fun dynamic. Well, and if you're I don't know what you call the person at roulette, like I don't think they're a dealer, but, if you got a guy that puts five $5 chips on 11 and then puts one $5 chip all around, like splitting it in half, and then maybe does quarters, like all of those things. Croupier? So spreading the chips out like that all around a number, and then the number hits, I'm sure it's fairly challenging to be able to calculate how much they win. I'm sure it is a great job. It takes a lot of poise and patience and mental endurance. Oh, okay. Interesting. So are you trained as a croupier separately, or could you be that and a dealer, or is it like, I'm sure someone that maybe takes care of craps has their own picture bets. Fascinating. maybe where you have like one chip in the middle of a number and then two quarters around it. Is that a Mickey Mouse? And by quarters, I mean they're kind of like on the corner. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Okay, no, that makes sense. Okay, that is really cool. As a layman, I would have no grasp on how any of that's done. Which I suppose why it seems so daunting. Hello to anyone just joining up in stream. Feel free to say hello. Today is muscle ups, but we are actually talking about jobs at the casino right now, which is pretty fascinating, I gotta say. But progressive calisthenics is the name of the game. So if you do have any questions that are more broad, feel free and do say hello if you'd like. Otherwise, just hang out and enjoy the show. I can imagine. It's got to be deadly. Standing so long, yeah. I mean, I drive a lot, so I'm sitting for very long periods of time, and it's just as bad. Like this right here. This is my dealing with back pain area. And especially now, streaming. Greetings from Germany. That's fantastic. Hello, Pat Mars. Greetings indeed. Greetings from Canada. Yeah, sitting is rough. Now you gotta find a job where you sit for half of it and stand for the other half. That would probably be better. I've been to Germany once and I'd love to go back. Road trips are where it's at for me, so I'd love to just rent a car, fly into Frankfurt, rent a car, and just drive around. Ah, well, I guess there's always something, man. Oh yeah. Well, already, I mean, I've been streaming for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I did get up once, but I probably should be getting up to walk every like 20 to 30 minutes. But once again, that's why I have that dealing with back pain area. And a subpar chair to boot. Got the pedometer going. I'll have to compensate. Probably stream till around 4 or so, then have to get out and move around a bit. That's the unfortunate thing. I love exercising outdoors so much. Like all this content was filmed at a calisthenics park. But now that it's really cold, that is a challenge. But that's all right. We do the best we can, I suppose. Oh, you should give it a shot. I mean, if you're into it, I guess. Doesn't really... I mean, I love doing it in the warm weather. Out in the sun, doing your thing. Usually the gyms that I've gone to, the roofs are never high enough to do muscle ups and stuff like that, so. And fluorescent lights, oh man, you can only take so much. Need that vitamin D. That vitamin D love. Ms. Disco sending out a Pikachu. Let's see what I got here. Do I have Bulbasaur? Oh, I don't have Bulbasaur. Wow, Weavile. Interesting. No Charmander either? Aw. Oops. All right, cats. Take it easy. I appreciate you stopping in. It was really nice chatting. Take care of that shoulder. There you go. There's Mewtwo. Mewtwo's always been one of my favorites. It's going very well so far. I made a beef curry this morning from scratch. Got all the spices, all the ingredients, put it together. Cut up some sweet potato, salt and pepper. Made those, and then slow cooked the curry for 2 hours. And then the two met, the sweet potato. I mean, I don't really eat rice or any starches or anything. I mean, other than sweet potato, I suppose, but. So that was kind of my only option. But it was delicious. And I'm proud of myself for actually cooking something different. So it was a great start to the morning. And now here we are. Had some pretty cool discussion thus far, and I'm feeling good. I guess it's not that fancy. There was no garnish or, fancy cookware or cutlery or plates. Man, it's not word of the day. It's just word of the I don't know, word of the stream, but then that would still imply that it would change. It's fine, it's the word of the week. There we go. Oh, geez. That's true. That is true. So it'll be import tune probably for the next couple days. And then I'll have to consult my vocabulary list, which is right here. Well, lat pull down, feel like a lat pull down, do you mean in how you execute it? Because, like, I know with the feel, it's, you kind of want to, a lot of people try and, like, when they do a pull-up to bend their elbows to pull into it, but it's more like pulling your elbows down, if that makes sense. But if you're able to do it with a band, then your pulling power might be insufficient. But even if it is to a degree, I would try manipulating your momentum. So have you ever tried jumping muscle ups? Yeah, like pulling your elbows down is sort of that feel that you want when you're doing just a regular pull-up. So that you want to preserve. So if you're kind of at that point where you're, like, what feels like the difficulty? Is it actually getting over the bar? And then another thing to make sure of is that you're not chicken winging. So if you find, even with a band, that one arm is getting over the bar before the other, that could be a big problem. And you don't want to do that because you could really screw up your clavicle or your shoulder or something like that. So where are you, at what point do you feel like you're struggling? So the top part of the pull-up. So at this, which I suspect that's where it is, because that's generally the toughest part. So how I approached it, I'd break it down into 3 parts. The first part being the pull-up, the second part being the dip, and then of course then you have the transition, which is that period in between when you're transitioning from the pull-up to the dip portion of it. So what did it for me, the key techniques were the jumping muscle up and then the horizontal bar dip with the slow negative, which is that one right there in the video. But if you're at that part, high pull-ups are really good, or explosive pull-ups where you're essentially doing a pull-up and you're pulling as hard as you possibly can. Yeah, that makes sense. That part is very difficult. So one way to do it is to start applying the jumping muscle up, like I said. But oftentimes, it's really valuable to start manipulating your momentum as well. So, and that's what the jumping muscle up is so great for. So if you look at it in the video, what I'm doing is implementing sort of a swing forward, or like a little jerk forward and then back and then jumping. So what essentially that does, the jump provides enough help that you can get over the bar. So you're combining the jump with your pulling power to hopefully get you over the bar. And then the more of a little swing beforehand you implement, the more help you'll get. And then if you need even more than that, you can try and find a bar that's lower that'll just be easier to get over. And then the other thing that helped me do it, and I mean this is because I was stuck at the jumping muscle up for a long time, but was optimizing body composition. So I pretty much cut 15 pounds of fat, and then I was just able to get over the bar. And that's asking a fair bit, but it is important. If you're able to optimize your body composition, it makes things a little bit easier. I'm not dropping any frames. I don't know if anyone else is having issue with the stream. But Skittle, yeah, I mean, at the point you're at, I would implement jumping muscle ups and then really high pull-ups or explosive pull-ups. And then augment the jumping muscle ups as much as you need to using momentum and the height of the bar. That should help a lot. And then what you can also do is if you have a low enough bar that you can sort of get yourself over somehow, whether it's stepping onto a small platform or something like that where you can jump onto the bar so you're over it, then you can do the horizontal bar dips and then implement the very slow negative. And then hold on to that negative as long as you absolutely can, and that will help. It puts a lot of pressure on your elbow tendons, your low triceps, so keep that in mind. And don't push too hard, just give it time. But the wrists, the forearms, the elbows will experience a lot of pressure, so just keep that in mind. How is it now? Is it still cutting out? Are we good? What's up? Anyone joining the stream? Hello, welcome. Feel free to say hello in chat if you'd like. Today is about muscle ups, but we've spoken about everything from jump rope to jobs at the casino. So at this point, you know, it's a free for all. But if you're looking to get into muscle ups, feel free to ask any questions or anything like that. The video there is a progression that I followed in achieving it. And then I also listed out the dip portion of the progression, so that's what that is. Oh yeah, no problem. I hope it made sense, but at the point you're at, the transition is very difficult. So it's the jumping muscle up was really, really good for me because it gives you that little extra help using the jump to aid in your pull. That way you can just get higher. But explosive pull-ups or high pull-ups are really good at this point as well. And then as you get better, you can implement the single leg jumping muscle up. So essentially what you're doing is you're getting less help from the jump, forcing your pulling power to pick up the slack, but that'll set you up a little bit better so you can eventually get to the muscle up. But the slow negative, the horizontal bar dips, are another progression that I did an insane amount of, and then implemented the slow negative, where essentially I would just slowly drop into the transition in order to build up strength for it. So hopefully that helps, and that made sense. But stick with it. It takes time. It took me a long time to get to a clean muscle up. And then, like I said, optimizing body composition helps too. If you're able to trim the fat, as they say, all right, Redux, I'm adding that word to the vocabulary list. Perspicacity, or perspicacity. The quality of having a ready insight into things. Beautiful. I love it. That word alone gives me a goatish vigor. And then I'll dedicate it to you. Done. Added. Atomic Skittle, that's a great name too. Well played. Oh, Sharpie Doo. Hello. How's it going? Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Or is it Scarpy Doo? I do like to get names correct, if I can. I'm doing just fine, thanks. Feeling pretty good. I had a nice meal, had some good discussion. Can't really complain, I suppose. Even if I did, who would listen? Not worth it. How are you doing?
Premium gives you
Well, I hope.
music and
I was gonna say, I hope Goog is like just a next level good,
For a short time, it's only 99
and a
cents
term
to
that
join
I just wasn't
Premium for 3
familiar with.
months. Now, when you're listening to your
But good
favorite
is
songs
good
or
as well.
playlists,
I'm
there'll be
happy
more
to hear
ads
that.
to get in your way. Plus, you can skip as much as you like, and hop, and jump. No one will judge. Tap the banner.
So are you into, are you looking to get into muscle ups or something, or into progressive calisthenics, strength training in general? Or did you stop in to just say hello, which is just as cool?
Yeah, I push the boat out. I'm floating on faith. Got a I don't give a shit look stuck on my face.
Oh, it's a
I guess
good
that
tune.
I become a product of the castle gates. Dug a moat around my heart and filled it up with pain. I went and poured it on the rocks with my last.
Oh, well, thank you for saying hello. That's awesome.
Person would pass out from. Now something in which I used to confide in got me sitting in silence, propping open my eyelids. Stupid.
So where are you from? Are you in the US, Canada, Europe, Asia, South America, or, you know, somewhere else?
Attention to a free beer. So leave me here like a cricket in a matchbox. Cashing my good luck and spin it on a padlock. The bad thoughts and the whiskey, you better
Nice.
read 'em bullshit.
Got Pat Mars, if you're still around, our friend from Germany, which is pretty sweet. Representing some different areas. Ah, the good old US of A. Had the good fortune of being in some pretty cool cities there.
Daggers tattooed on my throat. Ouch. What's the point of making friends when you grew up with
Disco points for you if you remember the cities in which I've been,
when it comes to space?
because I did mention them yesterday.
Up in my face. And lately with the
Or no, it wasn't yesterday, it was a Thursday.
taste the sugar in your words for me to give a shit about what you
Might have been
say.
Thursday.
I'm crazy and irrational. Always tell the truth so that you can call me asshole. I prefer the black hole over the sun. Plant a seed up in the sound garden, watered with rum. It's not the same when you're looking through the frame of a broken heart. The smoke blinds, but it also helps you look the part. So you can knock it till your knuckles get scars. I suggest you leave.
Well, I guess not. But I've been fortunate enough to go to Chicago, New York City, Boston, even Erie, Pennsylvania, the party capital of the world. Erie, Pennsylvania. That's about it, though. I I'd love to see California. I don't know. It's a bunch of places I'd like to see. And New York City was great. I've been there 3 times. Twice for sort of a certification. It's actually a progressive calisthenics certification. It was based out of New York City, which has been part of my journey in progressive calisthenics. I was able to meet some of the names out there within the community. But then the third was to explore the city, and I saw a band called Opeth there at Radio City Music Hall, one of my favorite bands. And I also saw another artist called The Tallest Man on Earth, which was pretty awesome. Is that where you're based out in New York City? And just to clarify, he doesn't claim he's the tallest man on earth. It's just, you know, a name. So I have received that question before. Oh, lucky you. What a city. I'd love to go back soon. I'll probably go back there for the progressive calisthenics certification once again. But that won't be till probably 2020. Unless we make a trip of the Redux. Oh yeah, for sure. So much to explore. I'm all about road trips, so I'd love to drive there. But at the same time, I feel like driving there would be a really bad idea. Just due to the congestion.
Ain't no way to explain or say how painful the hangover was today.
But Florida, I'd love to do a Florida road trip.
Trying to breathe in between the dry heaves. My baby made me some coffee. Afraid that if I drink some, it's probably coming right back out me. Couple of Advil, relax and chill at a standstill with how bad I feel.
So are you a proud New Yorker? Do you like it there? Do you love living there? Or do you kind of wish you were somewhere else? If that's even possible. All of a sudden, I realized something. The weather is amazing, even the birds are bumping. Stood up and took a look and a breath, and there's that bike. Oh, people do come in and out. That's for sure. But it's still fairly early on too. I think the most I've had at once is maybe like 18. But my goal is to make it grow. I do want to build, help build a positive community and promote progressive calisthenics and jump rope and gaming and, the values that I've also listed on the channel too. But I feel like these subjects are fairly niche, so I don't know what the possibilities are of size, but we'll see. It's just really fun to do, to talk to people and meet new people and play games and talk books and quotes and words and whatever comes up in discussion. Cooks up the action, the streets still got butterflies, enough kids to catch them. Riding my bike around these lakes, man, feeling like I finally figured out my escape plan. Take it all in, the day started off all wrong, but somehow now that hangover is all gone. Ain't nothing like the so anyway, at this point, it's a modest amount, but I do hope that it continues to grow, and like I said, it can build a positive and generally empowering community. Sometimes you gotta give in to win. I love the days when it shines. Whoa, let it shine. Sunshine, sunshine, it's fine. Feel it in my skin, warming up my mind. Sometimes you gotta give in to win. I love the days when it shines. Whoa, let it shine. And for anyone else just joining in, hello, welcome. The theme of today has been muscle ups for the progressive calisthenics portion of the stream anyway, but discussions have varied quite a bit, so do feel free to really AMA on anything progressive calisthenics, jump rope, whatever related. But the video that I have there is a progression that I put together of the path that I took to achieve the muscle up. And then I have written out a progression as well. It's slightly more comprehensive, but only slightly. Those progressions are there if you do need to take advantage of them. But aside from that, feel free to say hello. If not, if you want to just hang out, that's cool too. I like to tangle up the strings of the puppetry, but you knew me back when I was a younger me. You've seen Sean in all types of light, and I've been meaning to ask you if I'm doing all right. Yesterday, was that you? Look just like you. Strange things my imagination might do. Take a breath, reflect on what we've been through. Or am I just going crazy cause I miss you? Yesterday, was that you? Look just like you. Strange things my imagination might do. Take a breath, reflect on what we've been through. Or am I just going crazy cause I miss you? I'm shook, I know, I pushed when I should've pulled. Took it all back if I could, I put that on my soul. And I would make it top-notch good listener. If you could block off a little time, I'd give it here. I shall return in a moment. A couple of snags that remind me of the past. I can't front, I'm having a blast. But damned if I ain't afraid of how long it's gonna last. Sitting here wishing we could kick it. Give me your opinions, I do miss the criticisms. I didn't mean to be distant, make a visit. I wait up and keep the coffee brewing in the kitchen. But who am I joking with? There's no way that you and I will ever get to reopen it. It doesn't matter, this is more than love. And maybe if I'm lucky, get to see you out the corner of yesterday. Was that you? Look just like you. Strange things my imagination might do. Take a breath, reflect on what we've been through. Or am I just going crazy cause I miss you? Yesterday, was that you? Look just like you. Strange things my imagination might do. Take a breath, reflect on what we've been through. Or am I just going crazy cause I miss you? And when you left, I didn't see it coming. I guess I slept, it ain't like you was running.
You crept out the front door slow, and I was so self-absorbed I didn't even know. And by the time I looked up, it was booked up. Put it all behind you, the bad and the good stuff. A whole house full of dreams and steps. I think you'd be impressed with the pieces I kept. You disappeared, but the history is still here. That's why I try not to cry over spilled beer. I can't even get mad that you're gone. Leaving me was probably the best thing you ever taught me. I'm sorry, it's official. I was a fistful, I didn't keep it simple. Chip on the shoulder, anger in my veins has so much hatred. Now it brings me shame. Never thought about the world without you, and I promise that I'll never say another bad word about you. I thought I saw you yesterday, but I know it wasn't you, cause you passed away, Dad. Look just like you. Strange things my imagination might do. Take a breath, reflect on what we've been through. Or am I just going crazy cause I miss you?
Destiny. I was like literally just now starting up COD. I don't know that I even have that installed. Or would it have downloaded? Let me see. How is the Destiny expansion? I've never played a minute of that game, of Destiny at all. Okay, what I'll do, I will make, I'll install it, I'll make sure it's all good tonight, and then I'll be streaming tomorrow night, so I'll give it a shot then, and then just hope for the best. So is PvP literally just like, is it team-based? Is it one-on-one? Give me battery. Yeah, battery. Ah, I see. Free-for-alls just don't really appeal to me that much. I like having a team that, well, ultimately doesn't care about me and just abandons me and leaves me to die. So might as well be free-for-all. Ah, I wanted to take the laser sight off of this. Oh well. Oh, so maybe that's why they did. Maybe that's why they did that in this game with kind of the battery and all these different abilities because Destiny did it. Because they definitely weren't in the game before. Oh my god! Oh, poor man. I got you, teammate. Oh, he got wrecked. That was like the moment in Saving Private Ryan where Tom Hanks is shooting the tank with the handgun. What's up? And then the tank explodes. I think it's from like an airstrike or something like that. That's what happened there. Aww. I shot the guy and he exploded. How you doing, man? Good day so far? Oh, let's get Mr. Shotgun out. Okay, Mr. Shotgun did not help. Oh, what a fantastic movie. Just absolutely fantastic. In fact, I'm gonna try and watch it. Holy, what? Oh, sweet. So not quite the same looks as the beginning of Commando where Arnold Schwarzenegger is just carrying a tree over his shoulder. They weren't looks of just awe and admiration. Because they could very well have been those kinds of looks. Oh, there's another guy there. Yeah, you gotta do it. And I also think, what is it, a beam that he's carrying as well? Or that's another movie. I think it's a different movie. But along the very, very similar lines. Just a grotesquely heavy object that he carries with ease. Oh, wow. This shotgun's not really working out for me. All right, G. Toby, it's you and me, buddy. Let's do it. Holy, the whole squad's there. Oh. Well, I mean, if you were carrying it over your shoulder like that, then they were looks of admiration. But that's cool, though. You got a real tree. You're doing it legit. Oh, that was a bad time to heal. Man, everyone really likes this area. I think you're better off. Not better. You're good for doing anything in an Arnold-like fashion. Oh my! Wow. Oh no. Getting shot. Someone's coming from behind. Where are you at? Oh, there they all are. This is slightly worrying. Oh boy. Oh, really? Oh, man. I need an auto shotgun. Destroyed indeed. Are we? Well, I'm contributing very little to that. He's a great man. I mean, I obviously don't know him personally, but from his movies and what interviews and whatnot I've seen of him, I mean, especially from a fitness standpoint, I remember owning the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, that beast of a book that's, you know, the size of a small vehicle. So he was a big inspiration on that side of things. But like True Lies, Commando, can't go wrong. These movies are just so fun to watch. Terminator 2. And then, of course, there's Twins. Ha! Being slightly facetious. But good old Danny DeVito. I've never actually seen Junior, so I can't comment on that one, but I don't imagine it's his finest work, or anyone that was involved's finest work. But do correct me if I'm wrong, as again, I have not actually seen the movie. Give me my battery. Yeah. 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 Oh, again, I didn't... Oh, I can change it? No, I can't change it. Sad days. Oh, well. Shit, the Titan's probably pretty good in this level. We got a sharpshooter, and goodbye. Yay. All behind me. Ooh, got a little piece of that. Okay, sharpshooter. Oh, I didn't get the. Oh, that sucks. I don't even know what a tack deploy beacon is. Oh, good night, Sally Brown. Oh, ouch. Wow. That was rough. Let's go back to the tried and true. Oh, jeez. Need a bit of range. Oh. So. Oh. Rough. Never lucky. Where are you coming from? Why? Okay, where are you at, UAV? Least I can do is take you down. Get indoors. Wow, that was sweet. What? How did I die? Honestly. Well, I took one for the team. Holy. Wow, this is so bad. And we got one. Oh boy. Yeah, that was a hard fail. Okay, well, let's hope for a better one this time. Oh, I gotta change this. Wow, not much to work with. And this, no laser sight. My blood, ready to sing. Okay, we good. Hey, Trunch, with the Christmas tree, are you a tinsel man? Or is it just going to be, you know, ornaments and bric-a-brac and all that kind of stuff? So I feel like you're either a tinsel person or you're not. Ooh, that was close. Should have had that. Oh, that jumping. That's what's up. Well, I guess that's what happens when you stand there shooting at a UAV like a goon. Rough. It is not my day. Oh, wow. I got you. Time for the comeback. Oh, there you go. It's my man to Brody. And I am on fire. Okay. Oh, I got him too. I don't know how. Jeez. Show yourself. Oh, that rare grenade kill. Not good. What? Who's that? Yeah. What is that? Okay, well. Microwave. Okay, so that must be what that is. Fast mags. Don't need that. A little bit of personalization. Bound to happen. It's a big sniper rifle, though. Oh, there he is. That's what's up. I'm feeling good now. Oh. Wah wah. Had enough of him. Someone's nearby. Close. Oh no, what is this? Oh, behind me. Holy. Humanity. Wow. Right in the toe. That'll do it. Yep, yep. Okay, well, friends, that will be all for me today. As always, I really appreciate you hanging around. And I shall return tomorrow at 7, as long as everything goes to plan. But until then, take it easy, and until next time, see you.